Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Big Fantasy Energy.
Whoop,
I'm
whoop.
Jared.
I'm Ashley.
Yes, and this is going to be our first episode of our new our new subject, which is Creatures of the Night.
I
So
saw the
it's,
look of panic.
yeah, I was like, creatures are monsters, creatures are monsters. They're all the same, right? So Creatures of the Night. So it's our October theme, the greatest month there ever was.
Yeah.
Witches, warlocks, ghouls,
Ghosts, vampires, werewolves,
werewolves, all the things we
shifters
love.
in general. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's our theme for the next few episodes, and our first book that we're going to highlight is a witchy vibes, and it's Her
Woo.
Majesty's Royal Coven, which is a series, and this is the first book of two, right? So it's a duology, and then there is a prequel that she came out with a little later that is supposed to take place before Her Majesty's Royal Coven. So that's the book we're highlighting today. We're super excited for this theme, especially. I think we both were really giddy to talk about it. And it being October, it's so perfect. So we're kind of in our witchy type shirt.
Yeah.
So we're super pumped. So Ashley is wait, what are you? Are those little moons on your dress?
Yes, the
your
little
shirt?
crescent moon.
I love it.
Little crescent moons with like little dots.
So cute.
Yeah.
So if you were like a creature, if you were a monster, like what? Like I'm assuming you'd want to be a witch.
Yeah. That's just the vibe I have anyway.
I want to be a vampire. So
see, I have issues with being a vampire.
Okay.
What?
Here we
okay,
go.
here's the question though. You want to be a vampire. What kind of vampire do you want to be? Do you want to be like Twilight vampire? Do you want to be like Anne Rice vampire? Like what kind of vampire would you want to be?
For ease of maneuvering the world and modern day world, definitely Twilight vampire.
Yeah.
Like that would be the vibe.
Yeah.
So like
there's a series that I've read that like for me like it gives all the best of all worlds and that like the vampires can be out during the day, they don't explode, they don't sparkle, they don't do anything like that, they can eat regular food, they don't have to, they don't like necessarily want to, it's not where they get their nourishment, they get like extra powers, they can like do extra things, and I think that's really cool. They still live forever. The only
No, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
The only thing that kind of gives off their like vampire-ness is that when they have like super heightened emotions, especially when they're like younger vampires, their eyes will like turn like stoplight green, like it'll like glow. But they can like get that under control as time goes on. So
I need to read this book. I'd say also like just if I was like really trying to maneuver the real world, I would say the vampires and Discovery of Witches are also like doable.
That one's a good one too. Yeah, that one's a good one too.
Yeah, so you'd be a witch, I'd be a vampire. Love it.
We'd be best friends.
We'll be talking about one of those today.
All right, so I'll jump right into our summary here. This is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Basically, we start off, witches are hidden among us. In the modern age in the UK, they're registered, and they're kind of automatically, when they register, they kind of take an oath, and it's to Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Or here, moving on, for me, I'm going to refer to it as the HMRC because it's way easier.
Yeah.
We start off the book. Yeah. In your notes, it's HMRC.
HMRC, yeah.
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah.
HMRC. So we start off the book. There's 5 best friends. They're sitting under a tree. It's the night before they're about to take their oath. They are all chit-chatting. That you've got Elle, Neve, Kira, Helena, and Leonie.
Good job.
All 5 of them, and they are all being initiated. And then that's like the first chapter. Then we jump 25 years later, and we see them in their adult lives. A witch civil war has happened. Everyone's dealing with the losses, the effects, the grief that comes with that. Neve is no longer working with the HMRC, but is now a small town vet. Elle is a mother and a housewife, just as she's always wanted. Helena has the power that she's always craved and is the high priestess of the HMRC. Leonie is tired of all the racial and social injustices going on in the HMRC that's still, living strong with that political powerhouse. And she's left and she's formed her own POC and LGBTQIA inclusive coven. Kira is lost to them. The friends and sisters come back together as a new prophecy, a new world-ending deal has been given to them. So the end is coming. The Leviathan is rising. And can these 4 women face their fears and their uncertainties to do what is right and protect all witches? I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, wow. That was so good. That was such a good
It's almost
summary.
like I have a degree in writing. It's
that
almost
was
like that.
So great. It was like so perfect. Also, it just felt so fresh because I literally just finished the book like today. So it's like, I'm like, wow, I feel like you're just taking me right back.
Well, I'm happy I could do that. I did want to give a few trigger warnings for this book, though, too. As we mentioned kind of in the summary, this book does have a lot of social, racial injustices and inequality. There is 100% transphobia in this book. There is misgendering and attempted hate crimes in this book. There is strong racial discrimination. There is gender equality. There's war. There's murder. There's animal death. There's a strong amount of blood. There is kidnapping and attempted kidnapping. And there are also descriptions of grief. So these are some pretty heavy topics being covered in this book.
Really
please read it if you're going to read it, know those going forward and read it in that mindset. So moving into my review. If the last one was Jared concerned about us strongly differing, I feel like this one's also going to be there.
Okay, before you even get into this, I don't think we're going to differ, but I know why you think we're going to differ, and I'm so interested to see. But let's hear it out.
I gave this book 2.5 stars. Yeah. I'm giving it a spice rating of 2.
Yep.
This book was a super strong struggle for me. If I break it down into like its individual pieces, like the individual things of it, I thought that the storyline of the racial struggles and the LGBT struggles and all of that, I thought that was beautifully done. I thought it was very compelling. I thought it was very true to what the world is still very actively like. I thought it covered it in a very real, not hiding the truth from you sort of way. I liked that kind of stuff. Obviously, this is speaking as a cis white woman. So
fair.
But I thought that the world and the world that these witches were in, the structure of it was interesting to me. The pace, oh my God, the pace was atrocious. So bad. It was so slow. I also didn't care about even the characters I liked. I didn't really care about. Yeah. I was really struggling to make it through. The plot was moving at a glacial pace until about 65% through. Around like chapter 40 is where I was like really in it. And the buildup started happening like a little bit earlier than that, around like chapter 35. But I can definitely see why a lot of people love this book. I see all the pieces and I can see why a lot of people really love it and had a really good time with it. It's just not the right book for me. The pace is where it really killed for me. Is like I just didn't feel like for what I'm reading for and what I'm looking for in a book, it didn't move quickly enough. The characters were okay. I only really cared about Leonie and Neve. They were the only 2 I really cared about.
Yeah, those are who I cared about. Yeah.
Elle was so forgettable and completely pointless to the story, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I just really, and then I just hated Helena from like page 1. She is so self-righteous. She's just a complete ass. Like from the get, I was like, you're a fucking cunt.
Oh wow. Okay.
I hated her.
I didn't hate her. I didn't like her. I didn't hate her. But yeah.
No, I disliked her from like immediate. I just felt like
I can definitely see her being self-righteous. Like I agree
yeah.
with you.
And all of this stuff does make sense for like what her character goes through and like how she ends up in the book. But yeah, I mean, like all the characters were all of them were flawed characters, which is also very real. And for a lot of them, it was very understandable why they were flawed. And I mean, I did really like the commentary though, kind of about how like if you're friends with someone from childhood, how you can't always those don't always carry through, and how you guys have to grow
Totally.
together. You can't stay stagnant, and you can't just be like, oh, but we've been friends for 25 years, so we just have to remain friends. I also don't typically like when books flip POVs this much, like between this many characters. This was
Yeah, it was hard.
4 characters flip, and that's a lot of characters.
Well,
So
and it was
just
also
like,
kind of like when Elle was in it was like kind of random because she wasn't in it as much, so I didn't really care for her chapters like
and
at all.
she's completely pointless because she's such a forgettable character.
Very forgettable.
And it was just like too much to follow, and like all the pieces, I don't feel like all the pieces necessarily fit together. Like I said before, I really loved the political, social commentary atmosphere of the book. The magic system was really cool. I liked how we were introduced to that information. I liked how they showed us that information. I found that interesting. I found their magical powers really interesting.
Yeah.
But the pacing of this book, up until like the last 30%, was just ugh. I even switched, and I don't typically do this. I have nothing against it. I just don't typically do it. But I had to switch to audiobook for a few chapters. And for some reason that really helped me get past like the lull portion. And from that, like from when I got popped out of that, it was easier for me to kind of make it through the rest of it. But I felt like towards the end, the main storyline of the book kind of felt pointless to the overall plot and like how things ended in terms of like where they're gonna go. Specifically on the last couple chapters, it was really like the main plot point or the storyline of the book was mainly just a vehicle for like someone else to do bad shit and cause chaos later in like what I'm assuming is book 2. What I'm assuming is happening in book 2.
Yeah, but the thing is, I didn't even feel like that was part of the main focus of the book, but that was supposed to be the main plot. That's why it was so weird to me, and it was so slow because like we're told like pretty early that that's like the plot.
The point, yeah,
of like this, sullied child, like whatever thing that's become. And I was like, okay, and then it like wasn't. It didn't. I don't know. It didn't move. The pacing was real rough.
So, yep, that's my review. So, Jared, your thoughts?
Okay, so you ready to be shocked? Because I feel like you're going to be wrong. I give it 2 stars and 1 chili pepper. So we actually, everything you said, I fully agree with. So
okay, so here's my question: what are you using for your spice scale?
I don't know. I just feel like I know we've talked about what it's supposed to be, but for me, if it's not like super like raunchy, I don't know. I just feel like some scenes just read differently. So, and it wasn't until like the last third of the book. So I don't know. I would say 1 or 2 chili peppers, but 2 stars for
because
sure.
if we go off of our
but
spice
2
scale,
is just kissing.
No, that's 1.
Oh, okay. I thought 2 was kissing. You're right. Okay, then it's 2.
Why would 2 be kissing and 1 be sex?
Oh, because we have 0. Because we have no. One's not sex. No. Well, I mean, because the last book we did, Ashley was like, it's 3, and I was like, it's 4 because it's so raunchy. But she was like, no, it's like the frequency. So I think Ashley is really good about staying to like the frequency and then like what actually happened, and I'm more like, how do they tell us what happened?
Way.
It felt a certain way. So like for me, even though yes, 2 chili peppers, it just felt like very like it felt like a very 1 chili pepper type. But like it wasn't.
But I also think that that's partly due to the fact that the book is so slow that even though there is sex
slow.
And there is sex and they do describe it. It's not like crazily descriptive, but there is a sex scene which is 2 stars. They do describe it. It's not just fade to black.
but it's just like
So,
kind of like
but
it's
it's just like
almost
because the book is so
yeah, it just like doesn't
yeah,
even like register as like it's like a blip in the
yeah,
book.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. But 2 stars. So I actually rated it lower than you, but so for me, I think a lot of the reason I rated it lower is because the pacing was awful for
yeah,
me. So that was
yeah.
like you already mentioned that.
Honestly, this is worse than the romp through the woods, and
No, totally. Like I think
yeah,
the romp through the woods of the book that we
the what lies beyond the
last
veil.
yes, last episode, I rated it lower than this book, but it was because I had other issues with it as well. But
Yeah,
this pacing
yeah,
was worse. And then I
yeah.
think another reason is like I really wanted to give it 3 stars and I actually just changed it because I had it at 3 and I lowered it to 2
Mhm.
because I I just built this book up so much because I knew it had so much like representation in this book. There was so much diversity in
Mhm.
this book. I've heard about it. I bought it from the Little Gay Shop, which is like on the
Yeah.
east side. It's a little gay store. So like I had multiple people who were queer
Is it
people.
by the title of the store, the little gay shop? Is it a little gay store?
It's tiny and it's on the gay. So because when I tell
Yeah,
people,
I've been
I'm
there.
like, oh,
Yeah.
there's this little gay store, and they're like, oh, what's it called? I'm like, no, it's literally called the Little Gay Shop.
Yeah.
But it's super cute. So I went in there and I bought a couple books there,
Mhm.
and I bought this book, and the person who I was checking me out, they, told me they really enjoyed it, and they said there's like trans representation, there's BIPOC representation,
Yeah.
it's great, and I was like super pumped, and then I was looking at it at Vintage, which I've talked about the last like
Mhm. Yeah.
3 episodes, and
I love
someone
vintage.
there was, you know, recommended the book too. So I was just really pumped for it. I did some
Yeah.
reviews, I read reviews, and I was like, okay, I'm so gonna be down for this modern,
Yeah.
urban, like witches
Here's
in
the
modern
thing.
day, a big fu to like I've heard it's also like a big fu to like
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling because
Yep.
she's been so transphobic
Yep.
recently. So I think that's also why I gave it 2 stars, which I really hated to do because we need more
Yes.
authors writing and telling these stories, but I just have to be completely blunt and it just wasn't for me. The
Yep.
pacing was bad. I also thought the big issue for me was that they tried addressing it almost felt like they were trying to address every single social issue. Like I was like they brought up every
Mhm.
single one and if not every single
Mhm.
one obviously, but they brought up so
A
many and
lot.
yeah, they brought up a lot and it felt forced at times and we couldn't even like really get invested in the cause they were trying to like advocate for
No.
because they just brushed over it and then moved on to something else. So that was kind of what took me out because they would they would introduce something and then they would just like skate right along, whether it was transphobia or like,
Mhm.
Leonie and her, which is called was it the Black
Yeah.
Knight or Black what did they call
Uh
it?
Black Mass, but it's
Mask, yes, Black Mask.
the
And it's
coven
all
was
like
called the coven was diaspora.
yes, yes. And I loved that. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." Like, I'd love for them to
Yeah.
dive more into that or a little bit more
You
into
don't get it.
you don't get it at all. And I was like so intrigued by that. And
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is in one of those chapters from her POV, they get into a lot of details. So you think
Mhm.
they're really going to like dive into it because they touch on so many things that are so relevant to our current issues today. And I was so down for like highlighting, racism and sexism and even racism within, the queer community. And I was so pumped for it. And, like white fragility and all these things. And
Yeah.
then they just didn't really talk about it, like
No.
very, very surface the rest of the book.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really hard to get through the book. I wasn't entertained. It wasn't it didn't really the plot didn't move. Um, I I liked the idea of how it like explored gender norms, and I love a sisterhood vibe. So like, they're
Yeah.
4 old friends. Like there were so many pieces that I thought this is the perfect like recipe for a book I would be obsessed with, which is why I think you thought that
Yeah.
we would differ so much because I think and
Well,
rightfully so.
and I also thought you would like it more because I thought that you would really enjoy beyond just it being like LGBT. I thought that you would enjoy that kind of political world building
Oh,
that was
and I
happening
love that
there.
stuff. Yes.
Yes, and so that's why I thought you would also really like it. I knew you were going to have a struggle with the pace, like I knew you were, but you've been reading some other books that might not be like, obviously because you liked them more, are not as slow as this, but had similar kind of political stuff happening. And so I thought you were really, I was expecting you to give this like 3.5.
Yeah, I was really expecting to, and I kept hoping because I read this book in a day because I just was super busy, and we were talking about it today, and I was like, I need to read this in a day, and thank God I did because the pace is so slow. I would have died if I tried to read this in another way.
This book took me 3 days.
Oh my God, for you,
because I had to keep putting it down.
Breaks,
I was like, I had to keep putting it down, and so I went and read some fluffy ass, not good shit in order to just give myself a mental break because I was struggling.
Yeah, and the thing is, I hope this author continues to write and like finds maybe they like explore these themes a little bit more and maybe pick 1 or 2 themes to kind of focus on to drive the story and drive the plot because you know, this isn't like a spicy book. There isn't a lot of sex, so it's kind of like it needs to be plot driven or relationship focused, and there really wasn't. Like with the 4 girls who've been friends since they were kids, it just wasn't there. It wasn't there for me.
It tried, but like in the dullest way, not to be an asshole. But I'm also going to say, Jared and I, by giving it 2 stars, like within that 2-star realm for both of us, this book was not meant for us.
It's and I could see
it was not meant for us. And so there are people I can think off the top of my head right now, 4 people that I think would really enjoy this book, that I think that this would be right up their alley and they would really enjoy it and they would like the pacing of it.
And I would support, and I think I would support them reading it. I would actually recommend this. This is probably, and this is like no tea, no shade. But I'll probably gift these books. Like, so I have the set and I'll probably just give them to someone who I think will like it because it's just, I'm not going to read the second one. And that's, I'm not trying to be, I'm not either. Now, I would read the author again if she wrote something else, but it's just not, I'm not going to read the second one and I'm not going to read the prequel. So I'm going to give it to a friend who I know will enjoy it. And if they don't, they can give it to someone else. But I think I just really hope, I'm very needy as like a gay person of color. Like I want more representation. And I will say, you know this to be true, Ashley, there's books I've read that I know are not the greatest book because of the representation. I really love it. And I just am like, it's so nice seeing myself on the page or seeing people who are marginalized populations being represented on the page. So for that, I commend this author. I think what she did is amazing. And I'm glad she brought attention to a lot of things that need to be talked about.
Yeah.
But I did not think it was entertaining. So, like, at the end of the day, I wasn't entertained by the book. And I think the world was really cool. And I think it was similar to when we talked about the Run in the Holly Library. I rated it higher, obviously. But I remember saying, like, if this world was, like, following a different storyline, I would be much more into it. That's kind of how I thought here. Like, if the same characters, maybe not even the same characters, because I really didn't care for the characters either, but like this world of like, you know, there's this, you know, this coven of witches who restore order and like kind of do the queen's bidding, like how badass. Like that sounds so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
With something that was more interesting, because this just did not entertain me. So lived for the diversity, wanted to root for it, had high expectations, just wasn't for me. And I hope all those who love it, we'd love to hear your feedback of what made you love it, and
please, yes.
And we're not saying that we didn't like. We're not saying this is a crappy book. I'm not saying this is a bad book. It just was not for me.
Yeah, and I will also say we want to hear your thoughts, and not in a like we're gonna like try to dissuade you or like bash you. It's more of like we want people who this book was meant for to to let us know what they thought of this book, so that other people who are looking for it, or looking for something like it, are able to find it.
Yeah, totally.
So
because we know that it's for it's a good book for some people, and we're not those people, so we can't really speak to like who it's for.
Yeah, like there's a person on Storygraph that I follow that I tend to like their reviews, and I tend to really trust and will like go in for their reviews, and they rated this 5 stars, and so I was really excited. Yeah, I was really excited. So I was like, and there's definitely books that they read that I'm like, that is not on my TBR, and there's a reason it's not on my TBR. I will also say I will in future trust my judgment on things more too. I typically trust my judgment pretty well, but these books have been sitting on my TBR and sitting on my bookshelf for years, and I haven't read them. But I kept holding on to them going like, this is something I should read. This is something that I should like. Not like a should like because of the themes in this. It's something that I should like. It's something I should have liked.
That's how
and
I
was
felt.
really excited about it. But I will also be gifting these to someone.
Which is exciting, right? Like we get to pass on a gift of a book that someone else will like, and that's how it should be, but it just wasn't for us.
Wasn't for us, which is perfectly fine. I am super intrigued to go into a deep discussion on this, though.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
I have things I want to talk to you about.
Okay, well, I love chatting, so let's do it.
Yes. So, like, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. First off, this is something, first off, going deeper into the characters, I didn't care about any of them. The only ones I cared about were Neve and Leonie, and then Neve fucking dies at the end.
Girl, literally,
by her bitch-ass sister.
Her fucking cunt sister, Kira.
Right? And then her fucking cunt Helena, who did it.
I know. Literally, but, I actually didn't hate Helena throughout the book. I just
I disliked her strongly.
Just didn't care for her. But by the end, I was like, hate her. Like, and the thing is too, is like, not only did I not enjoy the book, but I'm kind of like, what am I going to read book 2 with one character that I like? One?
Right.
Like, the only one left is Leonie. So what am I going to...
The only other character I liked was Theo. And I really liked Theo. I liked her growth through the book. I liked how she ended and like she was being accepted and by most people. And the only person who she trusted and cared for just got killed. And I
know.
I don't care to read about Theo being crushed, because that's not what I read for personally.
No, me either. And I also think too, like, I feel like Leonie will be good for Theo, but also like the thing that's sad too is like Leonie's girlfriend was like the smallest. I can't even remember her name.
I liked her though.
I liked her, but that was what's so sad is like this like super side like irrelevant character was like my second favorite character.
Yeah, and I didn't care, like I've mentioned before, I didn't care about Elle, but this also leads me into like another thing is that
Elle's daughter who has powers was way more cool, like way more interesting. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh, cool, and then I was like, I don't care about her. Yeah, like, and I was like, oh, that's great. She's a nurse. Like, cool. I don't care.
But she's like.
She's also ashamed of being a witch. She's like, doesn't want to be a witch. I'm like, I don't care.
And she's hiding it from her husband, and all she cares about is how things look to the world.
Yeah.
And
just not a likable character.
But this is one thing that like pissed me off about Neve and Leonie. And I get that like there are people who think this way, but Neve and Leonie know that her husband Jez is cheating on her, and they say nothing because they're like, but she's happy. It's like, bitch, she's happy with a lie. No. If I was in a relationship, if I was in a stable relationship and someone knew that my partner was cheating on me.
I would literally be at your door like, hey, girl, we're friends. I'm not friends with him. Fuck him.
No.
I would tell you
and also like my happiness, like, no, you're letting me be happy in a situation that like I'm being made a fool of.
You're being manipulated. Like, you're literally, I'm like, hey, like, what's so bizarre, but and I also don't buy that Leonie would do that, because
I don't buy Leonie, and I honestly don't buy Neve would either.
Oh, no, either, because it's also so weird because another thing on top of that is Neve is literally a telepath, so she can literally hear and feel their thoughts.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, you've probably heard at some points Elle being like self-conscious or this or that, and you literally know that her husband is cheating on her. Like,
Yep.
Hello.
No.
And then Leonie too, I just don't feel like who she is as a character would just like side with some husband that she doesn't even like of her friend.
And then their minds in their minds, they warped it into like keeping their friend happy.
Right.
Fuck right off with that.
But also you're like, yeah, she's so angry she threw her stuff on the
Through
floor.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, screw this. But that's also what I'm saying is though I don't buy that the way that Leonie was written. I don't buy her being like, oh, my friend's happy. I'm like, she's literally like social justice truth telling bitch. Like, why would she just sit there and be like, yeah, I'm
No.
not gonna tell her. It's so
Yeah.
weird. I hated
No.
it. I hated that.
I
There was
hated
just
it.
so many things about the book that I was like, I don't know. I just don't think. Yeah, I
So
just don't. I don't
yeah.
really get any of the things that this
I
author
don't
was
I
trying to
don't
do.
I don't get any of the
Frankly,
things that was like driving
the
these
choices,
characters,
the
the
choices. I
choices
was
that
like,
these people were making. I don't get it.
there was no like
Because
motivation behind their choices besides like Helena being a super crazy like psycho because she
but
is
like
power hungry, and she has
here's the thing though, is
that
that
made sense because I was like, yes, she sucks.
it makes sense, but then also with that, like they're all concerned about Theo being Leviathan, Theo bringing Leviathan about, blah blah blah. And here's the thing: is I personally think Theo did bring Leviathan about, but I think that it was Helena. Like I think that Helena was like because Leviathan is like the demon of fear and that causes fear. Helena's fear about Theo being transgender, being allowed in the coven, caused her to allow a demon to possess her, which caused the whole fucking civil war before. And
Yeah.
so she is the one who like, yeah, technically, if you point to it, it is Theo bringing Leviathan. I also want to note in
Oh,
this, just in
Helena's
case
to
anyone's
blame.
listening. Yeah, I also want to note really quick, just in case anyone's listening, we are not dead naming Theo. Theo's name from the beginning to the end of the book is Theo, even as they transition.
Right.
She chose the name Theodora, but kept Theo as their name,
Yeah.
her name. So really, that was like something that just popped in my head. But Helena caused those things to happen. Her fear over that is what caused these actions to occur and what opens the door for all these demons to come out. So like in anything, when someone tries to divert a prophecy, when someone takes drastic measures, and when someone is screaming from the rooftops like that something can't happen, like honey, you're the one causing your own demise.
Yeah.
You're the one doing this.
The call's coming from inside the house, girl.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah.
Like, another thing
Also,
too is like, I didn't like you hated her the whole time. I didn't hate her in the beginning. I hated her at the end, but I never liked her. I was kind of like, okay,
No,
whatever. Helena's just
I
kind of like
hated her.
annoying. But
I
I
hated
also
her from
didn't like. I didn't really like any of the. I mean, I did like Leonie,
No.
and I like Nia was fine. I didn't.
Yeah.
I liked her more than the rest, but I didn't really get invested with any of the characters, and that's
No.
and I'm down for like this, like the friends, the women, like
Mhm.
women empowering women. Even though Helena didn't really
Yeah.
do that, she just was
No.
shitting on everybody. But
Yeah.
everybody else, but I couldn't get behind it. Just
See, here's the reason why I didn't like Helena from the beginning is because from the beginning, she's kidnapped this child. She's put them in a
True.
prison. Instead of
True.
asking them anything, she has kidnapped this child. She doesn't even she doesn't want to hear any other story other
yeah, because when
than
Niam
we're
brings it
gonna
up,
kill
she's
this.
like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, she doesn't want to hear anything else. All she wants to do, and she constantly talks about how she's the one in power, how she needs to do this. I hated her from the beginning because of all of that. And she was like, no one cares as long as I stay on top. Like I'm doing these things because I'm in charge and you need to get in line from the beginning, from the first chapter. And like from that very first moment was like, this woman is so self-righteous. She thinks that her shit doesn't stink. She is here for like, she puts down her friends, but then on the flip of that is irritated when they don't include her. And it's like,
right.
Honey,
I will say I'm not giving Helena a free pass here by any means. I totally agree with you. So we are actually on the same page 100%. I will say though that they do kind of talk about this in the beginning of the book. Once again, it's one of those social justice things that they bring up, but then they don't like follow through. Like they don't have like a common thread throughout the book. Is like obviously like taking down the patriarchy, right? So like there's some elements of like Helena having to be this way because she's having to like go against men. So she's become this like hardened, like egotistical type of human. I'm not saying that she should be that way.
No.
But that would have made a lot more sense if they would have like attributed her behavior to the fact that she has like the things
Yeah.
she's had to do. They didn't really do that. So I was kind of
No,
like, so
because
she just kind of
here's what
sucks to suck.
yeah, because what I'll say is they never show her going against the patriarchy.
Right.
They
They do
only
talk
show
about it in the
her
beginning, but they don't,
yeah, they
but
only show her
not her
going
versus
against
them.
they only
The
show her
women.
going against the matriarchy.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I
yeah.
know. And that's what,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of like, it's so frustrating. And maybe that was the point of the author, right? Like, so who knows? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
We
know, but
can't yeah. So I just yeah, I just couldn't. I thought that like every side story like little bits I didn't care about. Also with Helena, like
didn't
they
care.
had the whole thing where Leonie went to that medium and the medium talked to
Oh,
Steven and Steven
yeah.
was like, stop her. And then it never fucking came
Mm,
up again.
again. Right. That's what,
Never like did Leonie go, hey Helena, I went to a medium. I know you probably aren't gonna like it, but I need to tell you what Steven said or Steph said. And I'm
yeah.
like nothing. I mean, this is at the point where Helena's already going down her demon ways.
I know,
And
totally.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, that could have actually like done something, or at least given us like what was the point of that if no one was gonna bring it up.
Right. And I think just in general, like even from the beginning, like there are just so many like themes and then
Yeah.
side stories that just never came to fruition. And the thing is, like, I just don't feel like the book had a vision.
Yeah.
Like, what is my goal at the end of these two books going to be? Like, what am I trying to
Yeah.
get done? Like, is it really more of a touchy feely book? Is it like, is it plot driven? I couldn't tell you. Like, I
It was
couldn't tell
trying to
you.
do too much.
It was trying to do too much. And, maybe they were trying to just fit in everything because they really wanted to bring attention to it. And if that was the goal, you accomplished it. Like, good for
You
you.
did
You
it.
brought it all up. You fit it all in the book. You talked about so many social justice issues. Like, good for you. Unfortunately, the story was not entertaining for me.
Yeah.
So, and I
No.
even was when I was reading it because I was worried I wasn't gonna like. I was talking to Ashley earlier today, and I was like, girl, I'm gonna need to like 5 p.m. to get this book done, and I was at like 2 because I was like starting to even skim some pages because I'm like nothing is happening. Like
Yep.
there's literally, and then I would go like 7 chapters past that, and I like had read 7 chapters, and I'm like, okay, literally, I could have skipped the last 6 chapters. This is very frustrating because nothing
Yep.
is really doing. And I didn't even have my only question for you was what you already asked me was like, do you
Yeah.
kind of like? I guess my one question for you is, do you feel kind of torn, which you kind of already answered, because like you said, you wanted to like this, you should have liked this based
Mm-hmm.
on what it was. And it does talk about so many, important social issues. Were you kind of like did you feel a little guilty, or what were your feelings after
I
finishing it being like, oh, I didn't like it?
I definitely felt guilty. I definitely felt like guilty of like I should like this more.
Yeah.
Um, but not enough. And
Yeah, right.
like not enough. Like it wasn't for me. And I had a question along like similar lines.
Okay.
Did the last 30% of the book, like that last little chunk, which I personally felt like definitely sped up a lot and definitely had a lot more like movement to it, did that last 30% of the book after girls' night, after Annie passes,
Mhm.
all that, did that last 30% of the book, did it make you rate the book higher than you were initially thinking before then?
No.
Okay.
I
Did it
mean,
make you like
honestly,
want to? Did it make you kind of go,
yeah,
eh?
I did enjoy it more. I would say like the last like 15-20%, I was like,
Yep.
okay. But it was
Yep.
almost like I was being a bitter Betty, and I'll like fully own that because by
Yeah.
like when it did start picking up and I was like starting to like it more, I was kind of like, too late, bitch. I was like,
Yeah.
I genuinely was like kind of like being a sourpuss about it because I was
Yeah.
annoyed that they like all the things that this amazing book could have been. And it's not this, well, I can't remember this author's name. Sorry. What's her
Juno
name?
Dawson.
Juno Dawson. It's not Juno Dawson's job to like, save and tell all the stories that need to be told. Right. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's Juno's job to do this. I just realistically, as a reader, I was really excited because I thought all of these things and people had just hyped this book up for me. So
Yeah.
when I was about 75% done and it did start getting better, I was like kind of, instead of it doing what it could have done, like, oh wow, it is getting better, which has happened to me in books. The end has gotten better and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bump it up. But for me, I was just so bitter about it. I was like,
Yeah.
and it really, in my opinion, it really didn't get that much better. It just the pacing got
No.
better. The book
Yeah.
as a whole and things tied up, but it wasn't like the book was like the writing was better. It made me care about the
Yeah.
characters because I was kind of like, hey, I know you're tying all
No.
these loose ends, but I mean, I do care about Niam, but I don't really care about any of the other characters. So like, I'm not as invested in this ending as I could have been
Yeah.
if the book was written differently.
Yeah.
So it was definitely better, but
So
I will say at the end, initially I put it to 3 and I was like, oh, 2.5. I was like, I'm gonna leave it at 2.5. Because I was like, did I enjoy it? Like, did I like the book? And I was like, no, I didn't like the book. Like no matter what it
so you bumped it
included,
down to 2?
I bumped it down to 2. Because I was just like, and even sitting here, I'm getting more frustrated because I'm
You're
like,
like, 1 star.
what? No stars. No, but and I read a book, and I'm just gonna like shout out, which is not a good shout out. It's kind of a negative shout out. But I read a book, in the last few months called Kaikei, and it's low fantasy, but it's a fantasy book, and it tells a different perspective. It's like, I'm not gonna give anything away about the book because if you liked it, great. If you want to read it, but basically, I rated it higher than I wanted to because I knew that it was like telling a story and representing a voice that isn't always told. And then I thought about it and I was like, although I do want to like not shit on this author or this book because of the fact that it's bringing a voice to marginalized voices, I didn't like the book. So it was like really
Yeah.
hard for me. And then I went back and rated it 2 stars. I was like, I hated this book. So, and I think that this is all to say is we deserve like not just me, like women of color, trans people, like queer people, we deserve so many more books so that we have so many options that we don't have to like only have a handful of books to choose from. And I know there's
Yeah.
so many more coming out there. So I don't want to put the pressure on those who are telling these stories that like they have to be great. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah. So here's the question following that up then, based on
Okay.
like, the first half of the book, or more than the first half. It was like the first 65% of the book was so slow and so just like, yeah. But think
Yeah.
about this in relation to, if you can answer this, you might not be able to, and that's absolutely fine. What made this book different than A Broken Blade, the first book in the Halfling Saga, that we both felt similar of like the first like 50% of that book was kind of slow for us, but we both ended up rating it. You ended up rating it 3 stars. I ended up rating it 4 stars. What was the difference there? Was it
I
that you cared about the characters
Yep,
more?
100%. I cared about
Yep.
Kira, like,
Yep.
immediately. And honestly, Granada, Gerarda Guadalajara in Broken Blade, very, like, she's on the page, like, this much, and I cared about her story, right? So I think you just have to have, like, something that was the redeeming thing for me because Broken Blade was rough for me, like, the
Yeah.
first 3 quarters, but also because I cared about her, the one character that, like, I did really I was invested in when it did get better, right? Like it made me
You were
rate it
much
higher
more invested. Yeah.
because I was invested in her, just similar to this, which I didn't care about any of the characters. So when it got better, I still didn't care about the characters.
Yep.
So like even the Ren and the Holly was pretty slow, and then it got better, and I cared about Kierce, the main character. So when it got better, but if I don't care about the characters and it gets faster, it's just getting faster with people I don't care about.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the
Agreed.
pacing got better. I mean, that's the only thing I would really say. And, you know, and it's also like new age, like urban fantasy is like very
Hmm.
tricky for me. So,
Yeah.
and
That's fair.
it just didn't do the trick this
Yep.
time. So,
Yep. No, that's absolutely
and
fair.
my favorite fantasy book is an urban fantasy. So I'm not like a
Yeah.
hater on urban fantasy. It's just,
No.
I was like,
Yeah. No. I
yeah.
agree. Yeah. So I think we can take away from the conclusion of this that like neither one of us are reading on. Even
Are you surprised that we agreed on this? Because this is the one you thought we weren't going to agree on.
I what like I said earlier, I am surprised, but like now having like you talked about it, obviously less surprised, but I
Fair.
really thought that the political like stuff that was
know.
happening in this was
I
really
wanted it
going
to
to draw you in, and I thought that like the world building, I mean, but we both like medium to fast paced. We like that like between medium and fast. Like medium sometimes is too slow for us.
Or
It's
relationships invested in
yeah,
the characters.
yeah,
Like we need
yeah,
emotional connection.
yeah,
Like we need
yeah,
pace or
exactly.
emotional connection. And I didn't
Yeah,
get either.
no, no. And I think you tried your damnedest. I did too. I really did. And they
I
just like
really wanted to
I
like it.
was.
I was like really hoping, and I was just waiting for
Don't
it
say
to.
you might reread it.
I
I
don't know.
think that was what was.
I was going to, and then I didn't because I was like, I won't.
I
I
was like,
literally
I was
won't.
like, I knew that
I'm
wasn't.
literally
Yeah.
about to go in there, and this is so mean, but I'm just like a very abrasive human being. If you have met me or know me in person, I'm just kind of like people will say that I can cut people off like nothing. So I'm literally about to walk into my living room where my bookshelf is and take those 3 books off my bookshelf and set them on my counter because I don't want them on my bookshelf.
I already did that.
Because I want to give them to somebody. I'm like, I just need this out of my
Yeah.
house.
No. I already did that. At the bottom of my bookshelf is a stack of books that I'm getting rid of. And that
Yeah,
immediately after I finished one was like, boop, on
that's
there.
what I'm about to do. That's what I'm about to
So,
do. Oh
but you
man,
know what? Now you have space for like some of the other books that are sitting on your bookshelf looking for a home.
that's true. This is always a good
So,
sign. Well,
yeah.
so speaking of, new books to get or buy books, since we've been
Yeah.
a little, this has been the most negative episode we've had to date.
Yeah.
So do you have any bookstores or bookshops or online accounts that you
I
are loving right now?
So I would like to shout out this creator that I actually buy a lot of like stickers and koozies
Oh
from.
yeah.
It's called Megi Moose, MEA Moose. And we'll post her Etsy shop in our show notes. But she does like really cute like fantasy romantasy stickers. They're
Oh
super
fun.
high quality. She also does like I have like 16-ounce cup koozies that
Mhm.
are like the same prints and like
Oh,
bookmarks
I've
and
seen
like
those. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I
they're
love
cute.
them. I think she does really cute, really aesthetic, like fits my vibes kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I really love that.
I
But
love that. That's awesome. I
yeah,
mean,
that's kind of
I need to get some more book stickers because I don't really, for my water bottle, I need some.
yeah. I'm like, I just have stickers everywhere. I also have like one of those reusable sticker books. So,
Oh, I see Zayden.
mhm. Zayden reading a book.
Hottie.
So, yeah, he's reading the Codex.
That's
So,
so great.
but yeah, I think that is definitely our most negative review, but also like definitely as we've determined, just not the book for us. It's definitely probably the book for some people because like I said, I know people who I think would really enjoy it. I know people that like I've seen online that just like absolutely love it. It has super high reviews online. I just don't think we were the audience for it. And that's the
Yeah.
point of this podcast is to try different things and try to expand our own reading and try to discuss things that are not just things that we know that we're going to love because
Yeah.
it's not like there's tons and tons and tons of books out there, don't get us wrong, but at the same time like there's things that you feel like as a reader like you're supposed to read, and I feel like this book was one of those for me.
Yeah.
So I
I think
feel better of
too,
having like cleared it off.
yeah, me too. And I think too, there are so many creators out there who are great and awesome, and we follow a lot of them, and they kind of
Yeah,
only highlight the super, super popular books, right? So,
yeah,
or they only really highlight books that they like loved, right? So,
yeah.
or books they hated. So we're really trying to like we're just like
Give a little
rolling
bit
the
of everything.
dice. Yeah, we're rolling the
Yeah.
dice. We're seeing, and then we'll keep it 100 of what we think. So
Yep.
we both just didn't like it. Wasn't for us,
No.
but we do love our theme. So the theme for
Yes.
this, yeah, we're gonna
Creatures of
continue
the
our
Night.
creatures, not monsters, creatures of the
Yeah.
night theme.
And
And next
the
week, or what is our next book? I
next
can't
book
remember.
is Wolf on
Oh,
Fire by Krista Street. This is
on
a Kindle
Kindle Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Yes.
I think that this is going to be a little bit more lowbrow.
Okay.
I feel like this is gonna be
Okay.
smuttier. I feel like this is gonna be smuttier than some of
Okay.
the things we've read so far.
I'm
So
down.
that's just the vibe I get based on the
Your vibes
description
are
of the cover.
your vibe feelings are usually correct, Ashley. So
So
I'm
we'll see
excited.
how it goes.
Okay, well that's
I'm
good.
really excited about it. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining us, and I hope you join us again next week. Yeah.
We'll see you then. Bye.